Not met before. My name's Jason, and I'm Aggie's brother, and Pat's brother-in-law. And he has had the pleasure of being married to my sister for almost 50 years. This demonstrates that he is a man of tremendous endurance, resilience, patience, and understanding. But on a serious note, congratulations to them both for the beautiful marriage that they have, which is an example to us all. Now, my sister Aggie has asked me to say a few words on her behalf about her wonderful man, so here goes. So Patrick Gordon Hillier was born on the 8th of April 1950 to Dudley and Marion Hillier. He has three siblings, Michael, Peter, and his sister Moira. Pat, bring your chair up here, mate. Bring your chair over here. Come over here. It's you that they want to be looking at. All right, I'll come to you then. So, during his childhood, they lived in Whitton, Twickenham, and he went to Isleworth Grammar School for boys. He's still well connected with 5 of his friends from school days, and I'm not surprised to hear that, being the law person that he is, as John mentioned earlier. He trained to be a teacher at Warwick University in Coventry and got a degree in English language and English literature. Now, his first year at teaching at Wilson High School in Brent was a baptism of fire. Many of the kids there were unruly. It was a struggle to discipline them, and one pupil called in something so crude that it rocked Pat's confidence to the core as a new teacher. Aggie says he has never forgotten the 2 words this pupil said to him, and I was in 2 minds whether to include this in the speech today, mindful that this could cause some PTSD for Pat. Now, a pupil called Caroline, and I quote, called him a silly ass in front of the entire class. Who'd have thought language would come from a kid from Brent? Remarkably, Caroline and one of her other friends, Angela, who also caused disruption, grew to love Pat and have become lifelong friends. This demonstrates the type of person that he is and his ability to nurture as a school teacher. Now, after surviving Hurricane Caroline and his early years as a teacher, Pat earned a promotion to become the head of English. He subsequently became the deputy head of 2 further schools in Brent, William Gladstone and Wembley High. These were gritty schools and certainly not a walk in the park. For his final 10 years, leading up to retirement in 2013, he was headhunted to join the Brent School Improvement Service. Now, this specialist team were tasked with working alongside head teachers within schools to help make improvements, supporting staff and children. He enjoyed this role. My sister Aggie owned and managed children's nurseries throughout her career, and after his retirement, Pat was extremely supportive, working alongside her. Aggie really appreciated that. Pat loves guitar, loves to play guitar, and Aggie describes him as an excellent classical piano teacher. However, by the way, did you all know that about him? Oh, you did. However, his first love, and only a close second behind Aggie, is North Greenford United Football Club, who he's been involved with. Who he's been involved with since 2022. Well, that was what my research said, didn't it? 2002, that's what I've got here. That's over 23 years. He began by managing the youth team with Richard Parker, which is where Sean started his football career, and he played over 300 games for the club. That's Sean, not Pat. And Michael played a number of games too. Pat is still a committee member, as John said earlier, at North Greenford today, now the Assistant Secretary and Programme Editor. This club means a huge amount to Pat, and I'm sure he does to them too. I will be hearing from the past, or we've heard from the past, and be hearing from the present chairman shortly. Now, Pat and Aggie first met in 1976, and to quote Aggie's own words, "I could not have wished for a better husband." Aggs feels that throughout their marriage, she said that to you, Pat? Say something, he's not allowed to. And to quote Aggie's own words, "I could not have wished for a better husband," just to repeat that. Aggs feels that throughout their marriage, Pat has been caring and loving. She feels that he was supportive across all aspects of fatherhood, providing support to Richard, Sean and Michael with their interests. You crying, Pat? You okay?
I'm fine.
Yeah. Supporting them with their interests, hobbies, life skills, relationships and providing love. She said that he always took the time to explain things to the kids, which was particularly important during their formative years. The three boys will be speaking in just a moment. Now that's all Aggie wanted me to say on her behalf, but she just had one message for you, Pat, I had to give you. She said that you are free to relax and enjoy yourself this evening, but not to forget that normal service resumes tomorrow when she will go back to wearing the trousers. That's it from me for now. I'm going to come back again. If I can invite Richard to come up and say a few words, followed by Sean and Michael. Where are you, Richard? Over here. I'm sorry, I better give you some time. Richard broke his leg. That's an understatement. A month or two ago, so that's pick you up.
Hello everyone.
Hi.
You have to excuse me, I have glasses and a phone. And a glass. That's courage. Okay. You alright, Dad? You're right, Dad. Okay, so yeah. So Dad has been in my life since I was a year old and adopted me. I don't remember too much of back then, understandably, but for me, that on its own is huge. Adopting a black boy in the 1970s couldn't have been an easy feat. So much respect to you, Dad. However, Mum has always told me that he fell in love with me before her. So, Mum, you can thank me later. Always been a great father to me, gave me a balanced upbringing, walking me home after being picked up from the childminder, sitting on his shoulders, having conversations about things. So, and he sparked my competitive nature by racing me in the park. He never won, obviously, or maybe he let me win. That wouldn't surprise me with Dad. I remember Dad getting me to climb through a little opening window in the first house that we lived in when we all got knocked out. The one that was only big enough for a small child to get through. And in some way, maybe that was the part of the origins of my career. Thankfully, that wasn't burglary. I've been told that Dad was quite strict with me. But as I was such a good child, I don't remember ever getting too many hot lashes, as we would back in the day, until the time I was out on my bike and I decided that I wasn't going to go home at the agreed time. I was probably about 10. When I did go home, the road we lived on was dead straight. Dad was waiting for me at the gate. I could see how wide his eyes were from about 200 meters away. And if you know Dad, that's his angry face. I knew things were about to get very sticky for me. It was a very nervous last pedal home. As I arrived, I was greeted by a thunderous, "Where have you been?" I hadn't thought up a story. The pause was a mistake. The pathway from the gate to the door was only about 2 to 3 meters long. My feet didn't touch any of it. I got it that evening. But a few days later, Mum told me he was in tears that night because he was so worried and upset with the licks that I got. You know, remember this was the early 80s and getting a hot ass was still a thing. Or when I was much older and having a lively discussion with a friend on the doorstep of the house, our somewhat eccentric neighbour called the police on us, me and the friend. The police arrived just as the discussion was over, but they are not allowing me back into the house. As a 20-year-old would, I defended my position. I wasn't entertaining them. They jumped me. Dad had been watching the whole thing from the window. And Dad is now rightly saying, as he's come out of the house, he hasn't done anything wrong. You're not taking him, or you have to take me too. The police replied, "You haven't done anything for us to arrest you." So what does Dad do? He pushes the police officer and says, "Now you can arrest me too." So they obliged, and off we both went to the cells at Ely Police Station. So, in a nutshell, that is Dad. Loving, tough with me when he needed to be, but also my fiercest defender when I needed him. And there isn't anything that he wouldn't do for his family. So thank you, Dad.
Okay, my turn. There we go.
I should have said that stage, but I got a criminal record for that, I think.
All right. Well, as most of you know, my dad, Pat, or Paddy, or if you're John Bivens, old. I can't say it, my daughter's here. He has a deep passion for football. But growing up, the sport he knew best was actually rugby. I remember as a kid, he would recreate scrums with me, and he would rub his rough stubble against my cheek. And if I made a ow sound or anything, he would laugh and he would say, well, he would tell me what actually happens in the scrum, which I can't actually tell you all now in front of everyone. But when it comes to his love for football, I have to take full credit. As a young kid, football was my passion, and I can't remember what age I started, but all I can remember is kicking a ball around. And I couldn't have asked for a better dad during my youth football days. He was always there, taking me to training and matches, and he was fully engaged in my performances and giving me honest feedback every time. He never claimed to know more than the manager of the team I was playing for, just that he was offering his opinion. Though in most cases, he probably did know more than all those managers. Many of my friends, when I was young, weren't as fortunate to have their dads involved in their football journey, but Dad always stepped up. He'd offer to drive them to games and to training, and he would support and give them feedback and encouragement. To this day, those small acts of kindness haven't been forgotten, and they still hold deep respect for the man they call Pat. Over 20 years ago, Dad found a home in football here at North Greenford, and he has become a vital part of the club. From writing match reports to putting together the match day programme, he's always been hands-on, His dedication and loyalty earned him a well-respected place on the committee, and his presence here has truly left a lasting impact, which John Bibbins proudly showed earlier. But away from football, Dad is a wonderful and devoted granddad to his granddaughters. He's always hands-on and active, whether it's picking up Mia 3 times a week or making little sacrifices at home, like giving up his favourite chair. And of course, Mia never misses a chance to remind him that it's her chair now. Dad also took on the role of looking after my wife's family dog, Cassius, who some of you would meet when he was around. He'll bring him to North Greenford. And the two quickly formed a special bond. Cassius became Dad's loyal walk-in and drinking buddy. They would spend hours at a country park, but probably, most likely, even more hours at the local pub. As he would tell my mum he's going for a walk with Cassius and not come back after 4 hours. And we all know he's not walking for 4 hours. I've always seen Dad as a true gentleman, someone who had earned the respect of everyone, and if not all, most of us at some point would have witnessed the famous Paddy stare, which my brother talked about earlier. And this stare, combined with Mum's Grenadian ways, made sure that myself, Michael, and Rich, kinda, were kept in line. We are truly blessed to have you, to have a dad like you. We are the men and fathers we are today because of you, and I hope we continue to make you proud.
Hello everyone. Uncle Jason mentioned that I played a couple games here, and I played, I think, 2 games for the socials, and encouraged by Duffy over there, so may he rest in peace. I always wanted to be like my dad. He has such a stylish dress sense, right, Mum? He can wear the same fleece for 10 years straight, or the same tweed jacket for 10 years straight, until Mum buys him something new, basically. Yeah, and he has a great taste in music, right, Mum? Yeah, Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and especially Bob Dylan. The times they are changing. Mum loves it. And he's an excellent dancer. I'm sure he'll show you some moves in a little bit. It's a bit like this. Yeah, really good stuff. And he's really calm and patient as well. Right, Mum? You sure? Okay. He's always ready ahead of time, and he'll wait by the door, and while Mum's getting herself together, and he'll be like, I'm just waiting here, darling, I'm ready when you are. Forgive me, that's a big fat lie. My dad is very impatient. If you're ever with him at a Chinese restaurant, and you're waiting for the dessert menu to come, you need to pray, because he'll be like, no, too long. And as my brothers mentioned, he'll be staring at them at the staff. Yeah, it happened recently in Oxford. But he's always stood up for what's right, as has been mentioned. So whether shouting at the ref at a game, or whether shouting at Chinese restaurant staff, he's always stood up for what's right. That's my dad, justice matters. And I admired that, so I always defended him in family arguments, especially against Mum. I was always on Dad's side. So yeah, I always wanted to be like my dad. We have so much in common. Growing up, he was apparently called the dustbin growing up. meaning that, you know, any food left over, he would, you know, sweep it up. And I'd seem to take on that trait, apparently. He's a frequent visitor to the loo. And to be honest, I probably have a weaker bladder than him, so I inherited that from him. And he would often say, he would often tell people that I was the only son to go for a beer with him on my 18th birthday. These two didn't. And that continued when I was at uni. He used to come every other week to have a beer with me. And he would take my clothes washing and bring it back. Thanks, Dad.
Favourite son.
And as I get older, praise God, I'm becoming more like him. I fall asleep easily, and I snore very loudly. And I've developed a new habit, and I'm sure Mum would recognise it. I'll show you. I'm picking at my feet. That's from Dad as well. Yeah, and now as a father, I remember just how much he played with us. We used to play a game, I'm sure you remember, Sean, called Stop Falling Down. So he would chuck us down on the bed, and then we'd get up and he'd say, "Stop falling down," chuck us down, "Stop falling down," and then we'd get up. That was a fun game. And I do similar things with the girls now. But yeah, I always wanted to be like my dad, because he is the most supportive and encouraging person I know. He used to take us to play sports, whether that was tennis in the Bunny Park or mini golf at Hastings. And I played for a Sunday League football team called Highland Wanderers. And he would constantly be encouraging, even when I messed up, and really celebrating when I did well. "Well done, Michael. Keep going, Michael." Those would be the sort of things he would say. And I guess whatever I did in life, big or small, it was the same. Whether it was Lego, or writing stories, or making music, or videography, or even playing Football Manager. He used to sit with me, cheering me on playing Football Manager. Or when I was losing to Sean at FIFA. Or even when I was working at Tesco, or being a husband, or being a father, or more recently, preaching a sermon. He would always be encouraging. He would be a constant support for me, whether it's "Well done, Michael," or "Keep going, Michael." He is always on the touchline rooting for me. Never dictating, always guiding, with an unwavering love. You see what I mean? Fall asleep easily. I've inherited that as well. Yeah. But what an amazing father. Yeah, and Dad will be the first to tell you that he's not perfect, and I will be the first to tell you only Christ is perfect. And I thank God that God the Father in heaven for giving me the best father on earth. And I hope I am like you, Dad. And I pray you have more years to encourage us, saying "Well done" and "Keep going." And tonight is our turn to encourage you. Well done, Dad. Keep going. I love you so much. Okay, that was beautiful. Thank you. I'd like to invite Paul, the present chairman of North Greenford.
Chairman, North Greenford. Whoa! Oh! Whoa, guys.
Evening, everybody. I thought I'd wear this just so you knew who I was when you come up to talk to you. But yeah, I didn't get the memo about it's glad rags tonight, so I apologise. Look, I've got a graveyard shift, and when Pat rang me the other night and said, could I say a few words? I was hoping I never, because what else can you say about the man that hasn't already been said by his family and the previous chairman? It was funny watching him fall asleep, because that's exactly like he is in that chair when we have committee meetings here every month on a Wednesday. I thought it was just I was boring, but obviously it's not. So thanks, Pat. Thanks for reassuring me. Look, the previous chairman spoke about how long he's been here. obviously joined with the boys. When they went off to bigger and better things, Pat stayed. I think when the previous chairman left and we took over, Pat stayed with us. And what everyone says from a football point of view is right. He is a bit of a legend of the club. He has got a voice. He's very forthright in expressing his views at committee meetings and at any other time. He has a fantastic knowledge about how the leagues work and has been an immense help in how to run the club, sign players, deal with leagues, and he doesn't take any rubbish from the leagues either. He's very good at pushing back and not letting them, push us over. So I'd like to thank him for that. Like I say, look, I think he's got 3 great loves in his life. Obviously he's got his family, and you've heard all the great words that the family have said today. He's definitely got North Greenford Football Club, and then he's got his rum that he likes to drink quite often. So on behalf of the football club, and a personal thing from me, Pat, is thank you for sticking around. Long may you stick around. And if everyone would like to raise their glasses and do a toast to Patrick, and say happy birthday, Pat.
Actually, I've just got, if you can sit down again, please, mate. But don't fall asleep if you don't mind. So, thank you. Thanks a lot, Paul. I've just got a few words to say on my behalf. Obviously, the last things I said were from Aggie. So these are my own words on my experiences of knowing Pat. Since I was 10 years old, and that's nearly 50 years ago, so Pat's been in my life for all that time. And that's when he met Aggie, and then a few years later got married. Now I remember in those early years, our mum, who is no longer with us, mum absolutely loved Pat. And he fitted in with every one of us, 5 brothers and sisters. We also have a ridiculously large extended family of aunties, uncles, cousins, and Pat just fitted in with everyone, which is no surprise based on what we've been talking about today. He embraced our Caribbean culture, loved to socialise and drink our overproof rum, consistent there, alongside his pints of swampy ale and bitter. Pat and Aggie visited Grenada together. He fell in love with the local people, and they did with him. He just fitted in particularly at carnival time, and believe it or not, he had 3 local village women fighting over him at one time, as if Aggie didn't even exist. That's how handsome this man is, or was. Now, during those times, I spent a huge amount of my time at Pat and Aggie's house, as they live very local, and I really enjoyed doing so. They looked after me very well, and it allowed me to spend time with my nephew Richard, who was a toddler then. Now, I personally didn't have a father in my life, and it was after I became an adult myself, I then fully appreciated how much I had learned from Pat and how much he meant to me. This was by observing how he behaved and his relationship with Aggie and Richard. There are things that who wrote this? There are things that I love about Pat that rubbed off on me and shaped my own life. He was always very calm, even when others around were losing their heads. He was always respectful towards Aggie and took her thoughts and feelings into consideration. The love he showed for Richard, Sean and Michael, the time he spent with them to support, nurture and explain things, as has been mentioned already. There are so many family members, me included, who turned up on their doorstep for help. This was sometimes for financial support, having nowhere to live, that wasn't my own example, but for some of the family members, or just needing some advice because of a crisis. He and Aggie would always be there. His hard work ethic also stuck with me. I remember you getting up at crazy o'clock in the morning, Pat, 4 or 5 in the morning to mark school books as a teacher, and then working late into the evening. Your very strong principles, as was mentioned by Paul and the boys, and would stand up for doing things, sometimes not popular, but doing what's right, whether it affects you, your family, or others. And the kindness and support given to our mum, who lived with Pat and Aggie for so many years. Not all son-in-laws would have done that, and I know she wasn't always the easiest person to live with. There's a lot of talk nowadays of young men needing role models. Whilst I didn't have a father at the time, Pat was a perfect father figure to me, even though he probably didn't know it. Our relationship has continued to grow and remains close today. Now, in closing, I've got one little story I'd like to share with you, and that was when I was again about 10, and Pat was a school teacher at the time. He kindly offered to take me on a school coach trip to Hastings, along with some of the older kids that were on the trip as well. Now, I was the youngest of my mum's kids, so she was very, capital V, protective of me. She allowed me to go, but gave Pat one very clear, simple instruction: bring back my son safe for me. And for the avoidance of doubt, she said it for a second time. Now, after the educational stuff during the day, the teachers brought us all to Hastings Pier amusement arcade. And as you can imagine, my eyes lit up with excitement playing the slot machines. All was going fine for a couple of hours, then I looked round and found that I was the only person left on the entire pier. And it was now dark outside. Pat was nowhere to be seen. And bearing in mind, those are the times when mobile phones didn't exist. It was another 10 years. So my first thought was that this situation feels very bad, and that if I survived this moment, I was guaranteed to get a cut ass from my mum for not sticking with the group. That was her favourite term for physical discipline. My second thought was that Mum gave Pat some very simple instructions to keep me safe. She's going to cut his ass too, or worse still, kill him, whether I survive this or not. So I just kind of took the initiative and stood in the one spot and cried my eyes out. Thankfully, a stranger found me and brought me to a local police station. He could have adopted me, Pat. Could have sent me away. Could have been a child slave worker. And there you are, just sitting here sleeping. Anyway, thankfully, Pat and I both lived to tell the tale. And there's many other stories, but that's the only one that I'm going to share with you today. So, thank you very much for listening. Thanks very much to everybody who spoke this evening, and I'm sure that many of you here probably have much to share as well. But Pat, you're a very special person, and I'd now like to hand over to you. I think you'd like to say a few words, right?
Thank you very much, everybody that's just spoken. Thank you. Actually, Jason's mum was going to cut my arse. I got away with it. I don't know how. Anyway, I just want to say thank you very much all for coming. Some particular specials. I want to thank Pete, Lorraine and Margaret for preparing the food in there, the alternative to the curry. They spent a lot of time doing that, and thank you very much indeed. And also to thank Vicky and Harry and Sophie, I remembered, and Paul and everybody behind the bar there who made this evening possible. So thank you very much to all of you. This evening has two sides to it for me, and they've come across very much in the speeches. One is the family. I've got the most wonderful family you could possibly have. You know, mental illness doesn't mean a thing because you know you've got so many people to turn to in a family like ours. And the other of my family is a football club. 20 odd years working with John and Barbara, and now with a real family club. And it's basically run by the Mills and the Browns, by the way. And it's just wonderful to be part of that still. So nothing much I have to say apart from enjoy the rest of the evening, have a few more drinks if you're up to it, and shake a leg. I might even try, even though what they've said about my dancing, I'll show you that it's not true. But wonderful. Okay, once again, thanks very much. The other thing is I just want to give a plug to that fabulous Ben Presley show. That's coming up on a couple of weeks' time, Saturday the 19th. He's a very highly recommended act. That's going to happen here, and it should be a great night. I'm going to be there anyway, challenging him. So if you can get to that, we'd be really pleased to see you there. Okay? Well, apart from that, have a good night, everybody. Bye for now. Thanks for coming.